Hello everyone, today we are going to work on Grandpa Munster because I'm hoping that this video will be done and posted the first week of October. So hopefully I'll get it actually done before then. This is just, I don't even know what today is, 27th, 29th, I don't know, it's still September, but it's really close. So I've got these two little guys here, and I'm thinking that since this one's more pale, he's going to be Grandpa because he's a vampire. They're the exact same doll, just different hair. One's a little more tan, which that really ain't going to matter. They're going to get painted anyway. But something about this one looks a little bit more Grandpa like. I don't know why that is. Maybe because he's pale. But anyway, I've got this fancy little black fabric. I had like a cheap cotton, but then I found this and thought it would look a little bit better for his suit. His shoes are already painted black. I don't have to do anything to that. I've got this little piece of white to make him a little shirt and a vest. And then he's got to have a cape, and I'm going to have to find some red fabric because I'm pretty sure his cape is lined in a red fabric. And then I've got this little medallion here that I wear when I actually dress up as a vampire. And I'm going to cut just a little sliver off the end of it here to make him one of these. So I'm going to use this little red velvety stuff here to make his. So I need to find some fabric for his cape because I'm just now remembering that. And actually, this is like a flowy fabric. It's a little limp, and I might actually go back with my black cotton for the suit, and then I'll use this more flowy stuff for the cape. And then I just got to go in here and hopefully find some red fabric to line it with. And I'm going to cut all these little pieces out real quick before I glue them on him. All right, so I found some red fabric for the cape. And then I did go back and I got that little cotton fabric for the suit. And then here's some black yarn that I can use to make his hair. And then the place that I get these, a lot of times you'll ask, where do I find all these? I get them off eBay. There's a little local doll store here where I live. Some of these came from there. And then a lot of them, most of the time, I find them at antique shops for like $7 or less. Um, sometimes on eBay they're very expensive, but I get lucky sometimes and find them usually at an antique shop for like $6 to $7 a piece. So that's where these come from. Um, but anyway, I think both of these came from antique shops, maybe. I've had some of these for like 4 years or something, ever since I started my Hocus Pocus dollhouse stuff. Some of them I've had so long I don't really remember, but they've definitely come from antique shops or eBay. All right, so it's not even been 4 years since I did the Hocus Pocus house, so it's been more like two. And I'm just tickled because I'm saying, oh, I've had these 4 years. It ain't been 4 years. What am I thinking? What am I talking about? All right, so before I do the outfit, I'm going to actually get the face painted because I think that would do better. Um, and I cannot get it to focus. Anytime there's a picture back here, it wants to focus on the picture. I'm going to have to get that out of the way and get him out of the way. All right. What is the deal? What is going on here? Dude, come on. Okay, I don't know. He's not focusing. What is going on with that? All right, so anyways, I've got this picture that I'm going by, and I've got this paint, which I think looks very close to his face color. So I'm going to open this. I don't even know if this paint is dried up or if it's still good. I'm hoping it's good. There's not going to be much detail. I'm just going to do like a flat out. It's really thick. You can see how thick it is, but I think it's wet enough to use it. So I'm just going to use like a straight up color and get his face painted just like this. And that's so weird, it's not wanting to focus. That's definitely not clear. I don't know. Let me go off here. All right, there we go. It looks clear now. As long as it'll stay that way. It might not. But I'm just going to take that color straight from the bottle, and I'm just going to do a little layer of that. And I don't even care if it looks perfectly even or splotchy, because the makeup looks a little splotchy anyway. So I think that looks pretty good. And I kind of think the splotchiness just kind of gives it some shading. I mean, that looks really cute. In real life, it looks even better. The color looks so different on camera than it does in the in real life. So that looks pretty good. I don't want to keep going over it too much. It's sometimes if you keep going over it, it'll eventually lift the paint off, and it'll get kind of to be a pain. But that looks pretty good. Grandpa's mouth is really thin. He's got really thin lips, so when I go to paint those, I just kind of want to do it real careful and not make his lips too big. I'm going to just do the lips. They're black. Of course, paint the eyes back on, and his eyebrows. He's got like some triangular shaped eyebrows. So I'm just going to go off camera to do those tiny little details. And then we can go start working on the outfit better, because it's, of course, impossible to paint that, you know, once if he has clothes on. And then I've got this paint here, some black. I'm going to paint his hands because he always wore black gloves. All right, so here's where we are, and you can see the face has a completely different look after I got it painted. I did go around the corner of his mouth a little bit, and on the sides of his nose to try to give him a different nose shape. And then I painted the nostrils in a way to where it would look a little bit more like Grandpa's nostrils. And then I got his little tiny hands painted. I don't even know if they're dry. I think they're dry enough. Oh, yeah. Okay, so the pants, of course, I always start with a little piece that goes around like that. And then I've got these little parts cut out that are kind of doing that little shape there. And I've hemmed the bottom. I just glued the hem. I didn't want to sew it. And then they're just going to glue on to the leg. I always bring the back around towards the front first, and then I take the outside. Well, wait a minute. All right, so I might have them a little too wide. I don't know. And then I glue that part over. I fold it back to where it goes back in there. And there's his little pant leg. And then I've got the other one. Do the same thing over here. Bring that one back. And then overlap it so you don't see the overlap part. So I'm going to glue those on, and then we'll cut out his little, I guess the shirt and the vest will come next. Alright, so I've got those glued on just like I showed, and what needs to happen now is this is all loose up here, so I'm just going to draw that in and glue it, you know, a little more snug, and it'll look a lot better once I get it glued around the waist. Alright, so there's what his little pants look like, and they actually look really super cute. Now for the top is, I've folded over a piece of fabric, and you want to make sure that it goes down as low as you want it to go. I guess this one ain't going to matter, because the vest, if it's too short, my vest will hide the shortness. So I'm going to just fold it over. You want it to be a little bit wider than what his body is. You want it to kind of go over down on the sides like it shows here. You don't want to get it like, you don't want to cut it like that. You want to make sure it's wide enough to fold it over his body. So we're going to do that. Then we're going to fold it this away. And we're going to cut that little corner just a teensy little bit. Just cut a little nip out of it. And then you'll have that little hole in it there. And then I'm going to go ahead and split it down I can make that a little bit more of a circle actually. I'm going to fold that like this. And then kind of cut that a little bit bigger, a little bit more of a circle, because we want it to go just like this. Well, that hair is flocked and it's kind of getting caught on the hair. So there's how you do that little top. And then what I want to do, see, I'm not putting sleeves in it or anything. What I actually want to do is fold it back like this. I'm going to take just a little bit out to make like a sleeve, because the two sides will I don't know how well that shows up on that white background, but there's kind of the design, like it's folded over. I guess you're kind of following it. I don't know. I'm not the best teacher, but now let's put it back on him. All right, so there it is. Now we can glue that piece over and then glue that one right over there. I've got it just a little bit too small actually. I mean, it's enough to fit, but I almost got it too small. But we're going to glue them sides down, and then there's his little top. So I'm going to glue that down, and then the vest will be kind of the same way. I'm going to glue this all the way up and put like little fake buttons on it. And then the vest will be kind of the same way, but I'll cut it in a V shape like a vest would be. So now I've got the vest and the shirt done, and the vest doesn't go all the way down the back. It don't really matter because he's going to have a little jacket on, of course. So now I want to do this little necklace thing. So I've cut me a little strip off the back of that one. So I'm going to glue these on because I kind of got to do this in layers. So I'm going to bring the little arms down, and I'm going to glue this on where I want it to be, because I want the jacket to kind of hide that on the back. So I'm not going to make it look very pretty. So I'm just going to make it look pretty in the front, and then in the back, again, it don't have to look great. So I'm going to glue this on, and then I've got this little tiny gold sequin that's going to be the little medallion, and you can sort of see it in the picture there, but it's a real gold shiny little thing, so that's what I'm going to use. I thought this looked a lot like it. And there's how that looks, and I've cut me out like a little strip just to make a collar. I'm just going to wrap that around. I might kind of try to double it or like fold it over. I don't know, I might not fold it over. I don't know how I'll do it, but either way, I'm going to wrap that around there. That'll kind of give his neck a thicker look. And then I got to cut out a little bow tie and put there, and that'll help kind of make that look a little bit better too. So that's where I'm at, and I'm gonna go probably do this part off camera, but I'm gonna make his jacket kind of the way we did all this, and then just make a little piece to go around the arm for the arms for the sleeves, and then he'll be pretty close to done. The next big thing will be the hair, which I always hate doing the hair. It's always so hard and difficult, but hopefully it won't be too bad. All right, well, let me show the sleeve shape since I didn't show a sleeve. This is kind of the shape that I've cut out, and that's just kind of how I get it. It's kind of how a sleeve would look if you're actually cutting out a pattern to sew an actual shirt. And then it's just kind of going to, my finger's too big to glue it around it, but if that was his arm, you just want to, I'm kind of thinking, uh-oh, did I cut it too little? But you're just going to glue it up through there. And I'm holding that out of frame. But you're just going to fold it, and you would either sew it, or I'm just going to glue it to the arm, and then this part will go up on the shoulder. I'll try to do it on the arm real quick. It might make more sense. So let me see. I think I've got it cut funny. Let me cut this a little bit lower. I hope I don't mess this up, because I don't have a lot of the fabric to make this little outfit, but we just want to get it under here and then fold it and glue it, and then that's kind of what it's going to look like. But that's just a really crude way of showing it. It's just better as you glue each little piece. I got to get this one cut more the same size as this one. But anyway, just kind of wanted to show it in the terrible way that I'm trying to show it, but maybe you can sort of get an idea of how to cut a sleeve when you go to cutting a sleeve. And now that I got those together, it's so hard to see that black on black. I'm more of a doer than a teacher. Like, I can just see it and do it on my own, but trying to teach it, it's like, oh gosh, my little techniques are completely my own, and it's not always the easiest, but it's gonna look pretty cute. I'm getting so excited. Everything I do, the more I get done, the more excited you get about it. So let me throw this on him, and then we'll work on the cape. All right, so it's the next morning, and I've got his little cape cut out, and I glued that to a piece of red so that the other side could be red. And then once the glue dries, I will go in and cut around it, and then that'll be the cape. And then this is how Grandpa is looking, and he looks really, really good. But his little jacket just kind of hangs down. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to just fold this little part back here, and then fold this part back. And I don't know how well it shows up, but it looks kind of like, it just gives it some detail. I like how it looks folded back. Plus I want his vest to show out a little bit more. So I like how that looks. It kind of looks like a lapel, only it's upside down. If it did that up here, it would look really good. And then here's the little tail of the coat. Now the way I did that is when I folded that piece over and cut it the way I do, I just made the back hang longer than the front. So I'm going to glue these little parts back. And then, of course, on the pants, I always like to pinch them and give it like a little crease down the front. It just gives it a little detail that looks really good. So just iron that little pleat down the middle. And that just looks so fancy, just little details. And then I did scratch the paint off right up here on purpose. I'm going to paint his hair a little bit different. And I think what I'm going to actually do is just paint the hair that he's got. And then for these little wings of hair, like he's got that little white hair that kind of sticks out funny, I will glue on some white hair on the sides here and let it feather out. But for the black, I'm just going to go ahead and keep what he's got. So I think once I get that done, he'll be done. Now, if you can see this shoulder, this fabric is sticking out more square here. What I did to that is I just put a couple of snips in it. And then I just glued it down so it ain't such a square shoulder. So I'll glue that down like I did over here. And then we'll glue his little cape on. And then he's going to look super cute. So I guess that's it. I got to look at him and make sure I'm not forgetting anything. But I'm going to do all this, and then we'll check him out. All right, so let's check him out. Look how amazing the cape looks. I love how well I've done the bottom of the cape. I mean, I have a Grandpa Munster costume, and I want my cape to look as good as this little miniature version I'm just obsessed with that. But let me stop him when he comes around here. Now, if you notice, he has a. Let me just let him go around another time. I gave him a cigar because you know Grandpa Munster always had cigars. And then the collar is actually just a piece of paper. You can sort of see some white glue on there. That glue's not dried completely. Um, I mean, everything looks so amazing. There's some tiny little details that may not be there. I think his vest may have went into a point, which would have been easy to have done, but it still looks pretty good. I'm just absolutely wild about it. So I'm gonna let him come around here, and all right, let's stop it there, and then let's bring in his daughter Lily. Grandpa and Lily. Look how cute they look together. See, this is actually right now in this moment. I mean, I'm seeing them together for the first time. That is so cute. And then, of course, we got Eddie. So there's little Eddie. Oh my gosh, this is so exciting. I just am so happy with how they're all looking. There's Woof Woof. And so then, of course, we have to make Marilyn. I think I'm going to do Marilyn next. And I'm going to save the best for last. Everybody's favorite is Herman, of course. So I'm going to do him last. But oh my gosh, look how cute. I'm so happy with how these have turned out. I'm going to move these out of the way a minute so that we can just see Grandpa with his little countertop here and his little pet Igor. There's how he looks behind his counter. Oh my gosh, look how cute it is. So anyways, I don't, was there anything else I needed to show? Oh yeah, of course, the cigar. Let me get what I made that with. So I took a paper bag, like a brown paper bag, and I cut a little strip like this. And then I cut a toothpick, and then I just wrapped that toothpick in that little strip of brown paper bag. And then that is how I got the cigar, which I have another one over here. Here's how that looks a little bit closer. Looks like a cigar, I guess. And then I did burn the tip of this one just to give it a little bit more detail. And then I made this one because, you know, back when I did this project of my grandfather Ferguson, uh, I was talking to a family member recently, and they said that George always had a cigar. So that's why I made this second one. I'm going to let him have this little cigar. I think it would be kind of cute to make him an ashtray or something and put here on his counter. But I just thought he definitely needed a cigar since they told me that little story. And there's my phone again. All right, so I took care of that. So, anyways, Grandpa Ferguson and Grandpa Munster both have little cigars now, and they look more complete. I knew there was something that Grandpa Ferguson needed, but it was just that simple little cigar. So, we're going to check out some pictures of all this so you can see them a little bit closer and better. So, I hope y'all have enjoyed this little episode. Thank you so much for watching and commenting and all the other stuff. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.